Hello, my name is DOESN, and welcome to my Hu Tao video. In this video, I'm going to be talking a little bit about Hu Tao's teams, her builds, her weapons, and yeah. Anyways, with that being said, let's just get right into it. So, let's go ahead and start with our weapons. Home is her best weapon by a very large margin. So if you have Homa, that's her best weapon. It's not close. Primordial Jade is okay, but it's not the best for her. It's just like way behind Homa, basically. If you have the Vortex Vanquisher, if you're running shields like Toma, for example, right? That one's pretty good as well, very strong. And then as for 4-star options, Dragon's Bane is pretty much the best if you're going to be running a vape comp. If you're not running a vape comp, then I would probably recommend like Deathmatch, honestly. But Dragon's Bane is definitely the best for vape comp. If you're able to make some Lyria comp and you actually have Lithic Spear, you can use that as well. But yeah, those are options for weapons. Artifacts. So there's two viable sets on her. One is Crimson Witch, which is probably her best set. And then the other is, of course, Shimenawa. Crimson Witch is definitely better if you're running the vape comp, like without a question. Hu Tao has a very strong burst as well, so, you know, draining it with Shimenawa is not the best. But if you're running like a mono pyro comp or something, then Shimenawa was pretty interesting. But draining her ult's definitely not the prettiest thing in the world, so definitely got to consider that. Her stats are pretty simple, just crit damage and then HP on the sands, and then power damage on the goblet, so pretty normal stuff. And yeah, I would definitely recommend Crimson Witch. Talent priority, of course you just go 666 because all the talents are important. But once you start leveling up past that, the way I would personally do it is get her normals up to 8, then get her E up to 8, and then get past that. If you're going all the way to a crown, for example, I would go all the way to the crown on her normal, and then the crown on her E, and then start leveling her burst. If you're finding you're like dying or something and you're running like the no healer comp, well, you should probably level up her burst because it'll help you heal a little bit more. But yeah, otherwise, roughly speaking, 2 E's is going to increase your charge attack damage by around 1 level in your normals. So yeah, that's a very general statement, not actually true, but it's pretty close, so yeah. Alright, so there's a couple of ways that you can play Hu Tao as a DPS. The first way we're going to be looking at here is probably the most traditional way, and that's with a vape comp. And this comp is very interesting. Toma's really good with Hu Tao, and you know, there's so many reasons. Pyro, shield. Basically, you can apply Pyro before Hu Tao, so then you can swirl it with Sucrose, and he also gives you shield. And yeah, that's like all you really need. He's really good. That's quite solid. And then the rest of the team is pretty self-explanatory. Sucrose, you know, increases EM as well as shreds, so that's very good. And then Xingqiu is going to be our vape enabler. And yeah, the comp is pretty simple. There's nothing really to say about it. Hu Tao excels in this comp, you know. And with this comp, of course, Crimson Witch is going to be her best set by far. So, you know, that's cool. But yeah, this is probably the most common, like, quintessential Hu Tao comp you're going to see. This is very basic, very normal. This is what Hu Tao does, right? But yeah, I mean, this comp is super cheap. I'm playing all 4 stars. Of course, if you wanted to, you could play Kazuha instead of Sucrose. But, you know, that's for people who have Kazuha. Here, I'm just going to showcase, you know, a 4-star team. And, you know, generally speaking, it's really cheap. Problem is, you do kind of have to build your Xingqiu and your other characters here. Kind of, right? Just EM on Sucrose and the ER on Xingqiu and your Toma. But, you know, you do have to kind of build them. So, yeah, keep that in mind. But overall, the team is all 4 stars. The weapons are, you know, generally speaking, you can go with 4 stars, alright? Dragon's Bane on Hu Tao. Of course, Xingqiu, Sack is almost certainly his best sword regardless. So, you know, there's that. And then, you know, you can just go Favonius on Toma. And then, of course, on your Sucrose, you can go any EM weapon. So, like, you know, Mapamare will work even, so yeah, quite cheap overall. Really easy team to build. I think most people can build this team. But yeah, in the runs here, I am using Hu Tao with with Jade because my Hu Tao is C6 and my home is R5, so it's a little bit tough for me to showcase a decent normal Hu Tao without doing this. So yeah, generally speaking, this damage is, I don't know, it's closer to R1 Homa with C0 Hu Tao than anything else, but yeah, it's still a decent Hu Tao, right? Her stats are really good, so yeah, I mean, this is what it is, but this is kinda attainable for free to play. I mean, R1 Homa and C0 Hu Tao is a bit hard, but it could happen. Now I'm going to mention probably the most important thing. Hu Tao's more or less a single target damage dealer. Of course she has a tiny bit of AoE, but not really, right? So it's really apparent on this Abyss, like seriously. So if you have Abysses where it's like this Abyss, where you can't really group them, except by, you know, using their AI, which is, you know, not reliable, she's gonna struggle a little bit. So yeah, Chamber 3 is definitely really rough with Hu Tao. If you can get the right grouping, of course, it's fine. First half has definitely easier grouping than the second half, so if you're gonna run her, I'd recommend first half. I'm showing her in second half just because it's the harder one, but you can definitely get better grouping than what I have. I'm just, you know, a little bit frustrated by the grouping on this Abyss, so yeah. You can go watch my solo video if you want to see the decent groupings for Hu Tao, but yeah, I mean, it's definitely hard, it's definitely really annoying, but yeah, grouping matters a lot more for Hu Tao than a lot of other characters. So, the second team we're going to look at here is, I mean, it's called Mono Pyro, even though it's not Mono Pyro. Like, the Chinese community apparently calls this Mono Pyro. But anyways, the point is that this comp is pretty simple. It's really, generally speaking, 2 Animo plus Pyro plus X, right? Here I'm using Changyun, and Changyun's really good with pretty much every single Pyro unit in the game. And, you know, generally speaking, it's pretty easy to build him with Hu Tao, because you can run Crimson Witch and put Lava Walker on Changyun. But it's interesting because Crimson Witch loses a lot of value here because you're not vaping. So because of that, it's interesting whether or not you might want to just go for Shimenawa here. And, you know, in that case, you can build Changyun with Emblem, which is extremely good. So yeah, there's another argument for Shimenawa, right? Like, it's just a much more universal domain than Crimson Witch is, which is why you could definitely run Shimenawa over Crimson Witch, but yeah. If you're really min-maxing, Crimson Witch is better for the vape comp. This one's a lot closer, of course. But, you know, it could have problems with burst up time and dying because you don't have your burst. You know, and of course you could supplement by bringing a healer, but yeah, I mean, that's on you. But this team, it's pretty simple. You know, you just swirl stuff, and then you make sure that Hu Tao's hitting, and then switch in Changyun burst, and then, you know, generally speaking, have enough ER to have his burst up in a single E, and yeah, it's pretty solid. Changyun hits really hard. Hu Tao, of course, does Hu Tao things, and yeah, I think the synergy here is pretty clear. Of course, if you're running like double Animo, there's a tiny bit of cooldown decrease, but it's not really that relevant, honestly. The stamina, though, is very nice, right? The lower stamina usage is super nice if you don't have C1. And even if you do have C1, right, if you're dash canceling, that stamina reduction is really nice. So yeah, this team has a lot of quality of life benefits, but I think the biggest benefit of this team is actually that you don't have to run Xingqiu, right? Xingqiu's a unit that's used quite a bit, generally speaking. And you know, if you're running Xingqiu on another team, well, you can just run this for Hu Tao instead. So yeah, it works out really well. Hu Tao's a pretty old character at this point, honestly. But even with that, I mean, she's still at the absolute, like, top of the meta. So, like, I mean, I think she's a fairly safe pull. I don't see a drastic increase in, you know, power creep anytime soon. She might become a little bit suboptimal sooner rather than later because she is a fairly old character, but I think she's going to be very strong for a while, right? If you want to pull for C1, C1's a big deal. I will mention C1 because this is her rerun, so some people might already have her and are considering C1. It's a good idea, I think. Makes stamina management easier, of course. It allows you to start dash canceling, which is huge because dash canceling is a pretty decent increase in your damage output. And yeah, I mean, it also gives you a ton of iframes to work with. So you might not even have to dodge a lot of attacks, you just iframe through it just incidentally. So it's really good. It also, of course, the reason why you animation cancel is because you don't want to fly all over the place, right? Jump canceling and dash canceling achieve the same thing in that sense, but yeah, I mean, C1 is a very good consolation, so if you're going to go for it, I would not be too hesitant, but you know, definitely consider your options. You know, if you're getting C1 over another character, maybe that might not be as good. But if you're really dedicated to Hu Tao, C1 is definitely really good. So this is a little bit of a funny comp here. Instead of Toma, we're bringing Amber. And as memey as this comp may seem, it's got some legitimate purposes. So first things first, this comp's significantly better if you can get Elegy on Amber, which of course is on banner, so if you miss your Homa, you can use this comp. And yeah, basically what it's trying to do is use Amber's Elemental Burst to allow Xingqiu to vape his ease. And this means that you do have to build your Xingqiu, right? Good crit rate, crit damage, maybe even go for a Hydro Noblesse instead of your normal emblem. And yeah, this will be pretty strong. Xingqiu does a ton of damage, he's pretty crazy on his scalings. So yeah, I mean, it's really good. Of course, especially with Elegy buff, it becomes very strong. So, a lot of upside to this team, it's really interesting, it's really fun. I think it's a great team. You know, it's still really cheap. Elegy is kind of necessary to make this team really good though. Like, I wouldn't use this team over like the Toma comp if you didn't have Elegy. But yeah, this team is really cool. You should probably build your Amber better than mine. My Amber is kind of just sitting there with level 1 talents and, you know, level 70. So, you know, actually invest into her. But other than that, you know, conceptually, this is exactly what the team does. Just vape Xingqiu and get Elegy buff. Really good. I'm going to go highlight a couple of things by Hu Tao. You have to be able to play the game somewhat well. And you know, people might be laughing going, ooh, playing Genshin well? Yeah, that's pretty funny. But what I mean by that is that Hu Tao's much more difficult to play than most other characters in the game, right? If you don't, like, jump cancel, it's significantly less damage. Well, significantly is relative, but it is a decent amount of damage that you're losing out by not jump canceling, right? And of course, you use charge attacks. So if you don't have C1, you're going to have to manage your stamina, and it's very difficult. Stamina management, in my personal opinion, is not something that's just, you know, some like cut and dry way to manage your stamina. Like, there's no one way, like, I'm not going to give you some combo that's going to save your stamina or something. The way I would stamina manage is by basically understanding the floor and what you can get away with. So I would just spam charge attacks until I realize, okay, I'm too low on stamina, I need to dodge this, or this move is coming, so I need to dodge this and stop attacking. There's a lot of things like that. So like, it's really dependent on what you're fighting, the floor you're on, etc, etc. Rather than a, you know, one solution fits all thing, in my opinion. So yeah, stamina management is rough. Being very optimal with it is really dependent on the floor, in my opinion, so you have to learn a lot. Another thing to note is that if you're going to be learning her animation cancels, please go fight a mob, because there's something in this game called hit lag, and if you're just running around in Mondstadt like jump canceling or something, it's not going to translate over to an actual fight because the hit lag is going to completely change the timing, so keep that in mind. And yeah, I mean, generally speaking, HP management is going to be a thing if you're going to be using no healer, which the teams I'm showcasing do not use healers, but I mean, you can use a healer, but you lose out on a lot of damage because usually you're going to get overhealed and you're not going to have the 33% pyro damage bonus. And if you're using Homie, you're losing on a lot of damage. So because of that, HP management is very important to also be able to do. And HP management also comes with dodging. So yeah, you have to be good at the game, generally speaking. You have to play very well. Some people don't want to do that. And if you don't want to do that, I would not pull for Hu Tao. You should definitely try her out in the trial and play around with her, see if you can manage her stamina well, see if you can manage her health well. It's not going to be the same as like Abyss per se, but it'll give you some idea at least, so you can try it out and yeah, figure out if you actually like playing her before you pull for her. But yeah, generally speaking, she's quite mechanically difficult, so not a character for everybody. Now I will say, of course, if you do take the time to actually learn her and get very good at her, she's one of the best DPS in the game, so in my opinion it is absolutely worth it to go in and just learn her, get good at playing her, and yeah, you'll get rewarded, so I think she's quite good. Really quickly, I want to mention one potential problem that Hu Tao could have. If ever we get an Abyss, a late Abyss, like floor 11, floor 12, that has like the slowing waters leyline disorder thing, that like doubles your cooldowns or whatever, Hu Tao gets hurt a lot from that. Like, a lot. It's like super disproportionate from other characters. A lot of other characters can, you know, not get screwed by that, like Gon Yu, for example, right? But Hu Tao will get screwed by that, so keep that in mind, but it probably won't come up, so don't have to worry about it, generally speaking. So I've been talking a lot about not using healers on your comps, and you know, you might think, wow, that's like kind of a downside that you can't use like Bennett because, you know, she kind of loses damage, you know, kind of. Bennett still increases her damage, but you know, you're losing on pyro damage bonus, and the attack increase is actually not the most relevant thing because Hu Tao has a ton of attack. So, you know, it's much less impactful than it is with other characters. So yeah, you might look at that as the downside, right? But I don't know, I look at it kind of as an upside because, you know, that means you can run Bennett and whatever on the other half. So, you know, it's kind of both a positive and a negative, right? For Abyss, you'd need two teams, so having the flexibility of running Bennett on the other half instead of this half is really nice. But, you know, it's really a matter of perspective, but I personally think that it's an upside, honestly. With how strong Hu Tao is at the moment, I mean, it's very hard not to recommend pulling for her. But you know, there's always reasons not to. If you already have the DPSs that will carry you through Abyss right now, you know, 36 stars, then there's no real reason to pull for her probably. You know, just wait until a character that really power creeps comes out. And other than that, you know, if you don't like playing her, then, you know, probably skip her. If you're not willing to spend the time to learn how to animation cancel with her and, you know, learn her health management as well as the stamina management required, then maybe you can also skip her then. But yeah, other than that, she's an excellent DPS. She's still at the absolute top of the game right now. She's really strong. She's really good. So yeah, great 4-star options in terms of weapons and characters to pair alongside her as well. Yeah, if you really want to get very far in Abyss, she's probably going to help you there. But yeah, still a really good character. No real power creep in sight at the moment. But yeah, with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching the video. If you guys did enjoy, please leave a like, comment, subscribe, do what you want to do, and yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Bye.